Uh, Hi, everybody. If you've been listening to the podcast, then you'll know that we've decided to do a video to explain this podcast much better. Rob's here next to me at the moment, and we're going to go through some processes where he's going to see if different things that he does to do with sound and vision can help with my
So we're going to look at like an increase in flexibility.
yeah.
Just as one example, you can use it to do different things, but we'll chat about that and how excuse me, how light and sound affects the body through the whole of life, really.
So what I'll do is I'll explain what Rob's doing for the podcast, but of course, if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see what he's doing anyway. So yes, shall we make a start then?
Let's. So first off, I'll point out that Mark's got his feet on an earthing mat, and it's purely so I can get his nervous system online for touch testing. Because when we go further into the podcast and the video, we can do some things so that everyone can see what's going on. So you're not just listening to someone say, "Well, this is going further. That's improved." So the earthing mat isn't going to make any difference to the other results because he's going to stay on it. So sound and vision. We're going to start off with vision and the way light acts with the body.
Okay.
So go on.
You normally with this go through a process first to see if I'm your phrase online.
Yeah.
So is that the first thing we're going to be doing?
We'll chat about it in a bit.
Okay.
We're going to chat for a bit and then we'll look at doing the touch test, and just so you've got plenty of time to have your feet on the mat.
Okay.
And what if people have listened to the podcast before? If you haven't, I suggest you do.
Yeah, there's quite a few episodes out there.
It'll tell you what the earthing actually does.
Yeah. We went through a whole what did we call it? The
quantum biology.
Quantum biology. We went through a whole episode about quantum biology, and that we went through the earthing of the body and all that kind of stuff. And it's either standing with your bare feet on some grass, which does the same job, or Rob has here, he's got an earthing mat, which he then plugs into the mains, but it's the earth bit that actually connects. I'm not being electrocuted, put it that way.
No. So light, obviously you wear glasses, so you've got some kind of visual impairment, whether it's a massive one or a small one.
Yeah.
It's still a visual impairment, but the way the eyes work and the way they take in light affects the way the body works as well. But it's not just the eyes that are taking light. So if you think about light is a frequency, so it's got wavelengths, and each different colour has got its own kind of wavelength, and that's how we see colour. So what will happen is the light will hit your skin or your eyes, okay, and that's going to start to affect the way cells react. So when it hits your eyes, you've got things called rods and cones. I don't know if you've heard of those.
No.
Okay, and that's how we make a visual picture. And then you've also got things called magnocellular and parvocellular pathways, and that they all work together. So the cones, they work with the magnocellular pathway, and this sends electrical signals into your brain, and that helps you see black and white and shape. And then when we look at the rods and the parvocellular pathway, that helps you see fine detail and colour.
Yeah.
And the light will hit the rods or the cones. That'll receive that as information, and it'll convert it, and it'll send it through your neural pathways, through the magno and parvocellular, so you can see a picture. But what it also does, it also affects your body clock. So when we look at light has a massive influence over our wake and sleeping cycles. There was a documentary on BBC Two in 2008, I think, and it was Horizon. It was My Body Clock, What Makes Us Tick. And in it, they did an experiment with. Have you heard of Aldo Kane?
No, I haven't. Oh, you've mentioned it to me, but I don't know it.
Okay, so for people that don't know, Aldo Kane is an ex Royal Marine. Now he works in media. He does expeditions out with people and works doing ropes and all these things in places where it's really nice and hot and there's lots of wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they put him in a nuclear bunker for 10 days. So he was sealed off from the rest of the world, and they controlled the light in there. I mean, guaranteed he was on his own, so that's going to affect how you react with situations. But he could talk to people through an intercom, but they'd come in like different intervals throughout the day to get him to do different tasks. And it was just pretty much looking at how he spent his day and how he kept track of time when he had no outside influence. So he had no watch or anything, and he had no light, no natural light, should I say. And at one point, they shut the lights out completely, so he was just completely in the dark with a head torch. He started to go a little bit mad, so it started to affect his mental health. But not just that, because he wasn't sleeping properly, because his sleep was all over the place, it started to affect his physical health as well.
Is this program still available on YouTube or via the BBC or anything like that?
It might be on YouTube somewhere. It's not on iPlayer. I looked. I imagine it might be on BritBox. I don't have BritBox, so
Okay.
I couldn't say. There might be something on
I know
YouTube.
there is back catalogues of Horizon on the iPlayer, but whether it's this specific one or not.
No,
but it'd be very interesting to watch in conjunction with what we're doing.
No,
today.
yeah, I have looked for this podcast, and it wasn't there. At the end of the experiment, he came out. Obviously, he came out into natural light. It was very bright for him, but also he'd lost time. So because he couldn't work out what time of day it was, and his sleep was all over the place, he'd actually, I can't remember if he'd lost a few hours or he'd lost a complete day of time. And that's one of the massive influences that light has over your body.
So when people talk about a seasonally affected disorder, that's SAD,
yes,
that's part of that whole melatonin release thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people get depressed in the winter, and why, as far as I know, don't quote me on this, that some Scandinavian countries where they get very little light during the winter, there's quite a high suicide rate for that reason.
I don't know about that.
No, okay,
but
I can always cut that bit out.
It might be true. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not something I've looked into.
But I know it does have an effect on people's mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I used to work in a gym, and I had to go in and open up at 6 o'clock. This was in the winter, and I left at 6 o'clock at night. And I realised, I mean, I felt awful. I thought it's because I've been at work all day, but then I realised I spent the whole day without any natural light, and these things affect us. But that's one aspect of light and vision, how it affects your body. There are other ways of using light. So you've got the visible spectrum of colour, and then either side of it you've got an invisible spectrum. So I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of ultraviolet and infrared.
Yeah.
Now, ultraviolet, it has got a bad rap for causing us damage, but it can also be used in a positive way as well. So I'm not sure if I spoke about it before, but going out in the morning when the UV levels are lower and getting natural sunlight on your skin, then it comes to the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland is one of these things that has like a really important job. It produces several different hormones. One of them being growth hormone. Another hormone it releases is vasopressin, and that is one of the hormones which regulates going to the toilet.
Okay.
So people with diabetes, they might have an issue with vasopressin release, but there's also a thing called diabetes insipidus, and this is specifically to do with a pituitary problem and the release of vasopressin.
Okay.
And what I heard about it a long time ago because my sister's got it. It's only since I started doing what I do now and learned a lot more about it that I actually understand what's going on there. But what happens with that is people they get really thirsty. They drink a lot all the time and they go to the toilet all the time. It's because the body can't regulate their fluid intake and release. And with that, if you think about think old man syndrome. So
I think something I'm probably suffering now that I'm in my advanced years.
So again, with this change in light coming into your eyes and the effect on your wake sleep cycle, you got to think when you get a bit older, sometimes you tend to get up and go to the toilet a bit more during the night. But that could actually be because you're taking in too much light throughout the day, or too much blue light when it's meant to be dark.
Okay. So not necessarily my weak bladder. It could be
No.
a number of other things.
Exactly. Yeah. So because your weak bladder is going to be made weak by hormonal release.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you can get weak bladders as well, but it's something else to look into.
It is something you notice when you get older.
Yeah.
I will say you get up a lot more during the night.
And I am aware you spend a lot of time using a computer as well.
I do, yes.
So, but that's one aspect, and then we look at infrared. You've probably seen on nature programs where they use IR cameras so they can see things at night.
Yeah.
But then you can also buy things called red light lamps.
Okay.
So from that reaction, I'm guessing you've not heard of them.
I've not heard of red light lamps. I've heard of the light boxes that people use when they have an SAD issue.
Yeah.
I've not heard of red light lamps. No. What's the significance of that?
So it uses red light at different frequencies. So it's like I'm not sure off the top of my head now because I haven't looked at notes, but I'm not sure if it's high frequency or low frequency. But it'll be like the end of your visible spectrum into IR.
Okay.
And I know people use it. There's research into it. There's not extensive research, and the evidence is anecdotal evidence. But if there's evidence, then there's also a possibility that this thing might actually be a good thing to use. I mean, a lot of the stuff I do now, work-wise, a few years ago I would have rubbished, but then I've learned a bit of science behind it and looked at not just research evidence but anecdotal evidence as well.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot more sense.
I know a lot of what you do is your own research and looking at how other people have researched these subjects. So I know you do look into this in quite a big and detailed way.
Yeah. But yeah, so red light again, that's going to affect. So not just the skin. So you're going to shine it on the skin, but then you've got to think the skin is on top of all of your other cells, and everything moves at a frequency. So we've spoke about resonance in the past. So everything's vibrating, and when the light hits it, so that's got a certain frequency. That's going to affect the frequency your cells start to vibrate at.
Yeah.
I know there's research into it for helping with skin conditions, things like psoriasis.
Yeah.
But also looking at MS.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the research for that deeply enough, but I know that it has been looked at. Just going into I am looking at notes now because it's just easier.
Yeah. That's
but yeah, so phototherapy, which is light therapy, so that uses specific light frequencies, like UV and infrared, and it has been used, like I said, psoriasis, vitiligo, eczema, and infrared used to help in pain relief and tissue healing. So
yeah.
So that's where you can use light to your advantage. And so through research and and looking at the different light frequencies and different issues that people have had, I started thinking, well, can I use light to affect other people? See, I work at the Beacon Centre, which is a place for the blind. So not everyone is completely blind. They've got different types of visual impairment. So I started using it with some people there, and then I've also used it with myself as well to get different results. And it's all about what is specific for the body for that actual thing. So on my phone, I've got a thing so I can scroll through different light frequencies.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, I'm just going to give you a couple of muscle tests now.
Yeah.
Then, are you happy to stand up and try and touch your toes?
Yes, I can do that. It's no problem.
And then what we'll do is we'll do muscle tests to work out what light frequency we need for you to increase your flexibility.
Okay.
And what we'll look at is how long we need to do it for, and whether it's a magnocellular or parvocellular pathway we need to look at, and whether it's one side, either one eye or both eyes.
Okay. Okay.
Happy with that. So first off, I'll get you to stand up.
Do I stay with the mat?
If you stay on the mat, and then it's a constant then.
Right, I'm standing up now.
Whatever you do, don't knock the table.
No, I won't knock the table.
So can you put your feet together for me?
Yeah, I can do.
I appreciate it. Does get sticky on the mat. And then from the waist.
From the waist.
Bum goes back. Just fold down and reach down as far as you can. Okay, and then just touch yourself on the shins whereabouts, and that gives you a measure. Also, for people watching on the video, it gives them a measure as well.
Yep.
Okay, and then roll yourself back up.
Okay.
And you can sit down again for a second.
Thank you very much. Nice and relaxing again.
So is it your left shoulder which you've got issues with?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm an old man. I've got issues with both, so but I wouldn't worry too much.
What I don't want to do is fatigue it, so we'll use that arm.
Okay.
So when we're doing muscle tests, I know you know how to do it because we did it the other day.
If you move around, then people will be able to see what we're doing here.
That's all right. Okay, so if you all I want you to do, bring your arm up, lock your elbow.
So my arm is now straight out in front of me.
Okay, and all I'm going to do is match your pressure, so push up.
Okay, so I'm pushing up now.
Keep your elbow locked.
Yeah.
Push up. Okay, so that's locked. So
yeah. Now Rob's tapping me on my left shoulder now.
By doing that, it's a reflex thing. Okay, and push up. Okay, so
now that time, obviously you watching the video, it's fine. At that time, Rob used the same pressure, and my arm went straight down, basically.
Yeah, so it's the reason it works is it's just a reflex.
Mm-hmm.
By tapping your shoulder there, the opposite shoulder, it just switches that one on.
Okay.
So
he tapped my left shoulder, and we're working on my right arm. So
yeah,
it's opposite sides.
Right. So what we're going to do now is, so it sounds weird, and this is where it gets proper weird. I'm just going to get my phone out so we can use the app.
So Rob's now sorting out his phone. He's got an app on there which has got various light fields on it.
So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the body questions. I'm going to say it out loud.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets a little bit weird because this is where all the quantum biology and that comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're going to ask whether there's a priority light frequency to increase your flexibility. If your body says no, then this bit is pointless. So we'll give that a go now.
Okay.
So if you give me that arm again.
So again, I've got my right arm straight out in front of me, elbow locked.
Flexibility, priority light frequency, push up. Okay, so that went down. So I'm happy with that. It means we can carry on.
Okay, so Rob asked a question, and my arm went straight down when he put some pressure on it.
Okay, so everyone looking, this is the app we're going to use, and it just scrolls through different light frequencies. So what I'm going to do is get Mark to put that on your lap, and you put it however you want. I'm going to get you to scroll through it with one hand.
Okay. So it's that way, isn't it?
Yeah. And while you're scrolling through it, I'm going to push down. As soon as you hit the right frequency, your arm is going to weaken.
Okay. So again, my arm goes out straight, our elbow locked, and we're now going to do that.
Push up, keep your elbow locked, push up.
So I'm now pushing up, and I'm going to scroll through the frequencies. Oh, there we go.
Okay. I'm just going to lock your arm for me. Head nice forwards, so you can still see the light.
Yeah.
And correct, push up.
Okay.
I was going to try it again. And correct, push up. Okay, so I think that's what we're going to go for.
Okay, and well, you could show on the video, but it's quite a deep royal blue that is the colour that we've come to.
Yeah, so I know I spoke about blue light earlier, but everyone's different, and we've spoke about people being different.
And blue light is not blue as such, is it?
It's to do with the frequency.
Yeah. So it's not obvious blue, is what I mean.
No. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see if we're going to look at the visual fields where we're going to use it and how long.
Okay.
How long we're going to use it for.
Okay.
So if you give me your arm.
Again, arm straight out ahead, in front of me.
So like Magno, push up. Parvo, push up. Okay. I mean, I thought it would because it's colour.
So what's the difference between Parvo and Magno?
So Magno cellular, it'll become a bit more apparent in a second, but it's the way you shine the light into the eyes.
Okay.
So the Magno cellular pathway, you'll have light shining from the bottom up.
Okay, yeah.
So if you think you've got superior, inferior.
Right, so that's superior up, inferior down.
So your magnocellular is superior, so the light goes at the bottom and shines up.
Okay.
Your parvocellular is inferior, so the light stays at the top and comes down. So I'll be shining light from above.
So it's either the top end of my peripheral vision or the bottom end of my peripheral.
And now it's going to see if it's one eye or both eyes.
Okay.
Okay, so lock your elbow and bilateral push up. Okay, keep your elbow locked for me. Okay, left push up. I'm just going to test that. Right push up. Okay, so relax. So we're going to have the light above your left eye.
Okay.
Now, the only thing we need to do now is see how long to do it for.
Right, okay. So again, arm out straight in front of me.
I was going to do it in brackets of 10 seconds.
Okay, right. And Rob's going to ask questions again.
10 to 20, push up. 20 to 30, push up. Okay.
Right, my arm went straight down in the 20 to 30 range.
20 to 25, push. Keep it locked. 25 to 30, push. Okay, we'll just go on. 30 seconds, push. Okay, so we're going to do it for 30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay.
And then we're going to have a look and reassess how your flexibility has changed.
Okay, and for those listening on the podcast, Robbie's asking questions and seeing how my arm reacts when he puts pressure on it, which gives him the answer to what to the question he's asking. Okay, so my body is answering the questions, not me as such. Yeah, it's a subconscious thing.
So you don't need to move. You can just stay there. Okay. I'm just going to shine this above for 30 seconds.
So it's now shining his blue light on his phone.
I'm just going to bring it in quite close to so.
Above my left eye, and he's going to do that for 30 seconds. He's timing it now. I'm just staring ahead of me, so it's in my peripheral vision, not right into my eye. So we're going to go quiet for a minute here.
Got 5 seconds left. Okay.
And then you heard the alarm go off.
Okay. All I need you to do now, Mark, I'll stay over here, is stand up.
Stand up again.
And retest your flexibility.
Okay.
And see how far you can go.
See if this has changed. Let me just straighten that. See if this has changed the way my body's
keep
reacting.
Your feet together. It's the same as you did before.
Yeah.
Fold at the waist and all the way down.
I think there's a marginal difference there.
Okay, I'm going to get you to come back up. We can do it once more. So breathe in, breathe out, roll down.
Yeah, it's definitely a difference.
Okay.
I'm definitely going down further by probably about 1.5 inches, maybe. Yeah. Certainly 1 inch.
Okay, take yourself a seat.
Thank you very much.
You. Give yourself a round of applause.
Yes. There we go.
That's one
aspect. I feel like a performing seal.
Yeah. And that's just one aspect of how you can use light. So what we've done there, I spoke about the nervous system in the past, how you've got parasympathetic and sympathetic. What we've done there is dampen down the sympathetic nervous system, heighten the parasympathetic, so your body's gone into a bit more relaxation. So, so you can use that.
So that's about relaxation, me being able to go further down and my hands touching further down my ankles.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily thinking about relaxing, like if you have a nice bath and listen to some soft music.
Yeah.
What it is, it's relaxing the tissues. So it's your nervous system is allowing your body to go into what's called rest and digest.
Yeah. We've spoken about that before on other podcasts as well.
So when we're looking at it as an exercise kind of framework. So if you've got a client and you do an exercise session with them, bin men are here.
We can take a break for a second while the bin men are here because they'll clatter around. Oh, they go up top of the road first.
Yeah. So after a session, you might want to stretch. So if you've already got an increased range of movement when you're stretching, then you're going to get a deeper stretch out of it.
Yeah. So
you can get more benefit that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Yes.
But we can use the light in different ways as well. So if you've got certain issues with your vision where it's a bit blurry, you can use the light to kind of not refocus, but again, it's just affecting the nervous system. So it's only going to work if it's the right thing for you.
Yeah.
You can't just randomly go around shining light in your eyes, waiting for something to happen. It's got to be specific for you.
And how would you find out if it was? By going through the process we've been through?
Yeah. Right. I mean, we spoke. I can't remember which episode it was now. We spoke about the self-test when you closed your eyes and stood and did lies and truths, and you wobbled.
Yeah, I think that was probably the quantum biology one again, because it's the way of explaining what Rob does basically, and everything is sort of wrapped up in this quantum biology subject. I think is probably the best way of describing it.
So that's light and vision. So even for blind people, so what's happening with them is their rods or their cones aren't working properly, so that information it's not getting transformed into an electrical signal.
Yeah.
And that's how we make up the picture.
Yeah.
Their eyes are still taking the light in. Even if you've got cataracts, it's going to block some of the light, but you're still taking in light, and the light is still affecting your body. So I did eyes there, but we could have gone around the whole body assessing whether it was better to shine the light on bits of your body.
Right, okay.
However, if it came down to like shining it on the hip flexors, I didn't want you to take your shorts down on camera.
No, that's not going to happen.
So that's why we did it that way.
Okay.
But are you happy with that?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very similar results to when we had last time when we were doing this sort of thing, which we didn't do in the podcast, but we did it before the podcast, so Rob could explain to me what about the quantum biology and how it works. And we had very, very similar results, basically. So that's the second time we've been through that whole process. and we've come out with the same result, which is fantastic, and proves the theory, really.
Yes. So next we'll talk about sound and acoustics and how that affects. And what we're going to do there is we're going to use a guitar to demonstrate it.
Yeah.